so Ace, you're an athlete, and you said your dad is also very athletic as well. Having that athlete's mentality, does that give you an advantage in pursuing acting?
I guess in maybe, you know, I think, I mean, you know, I started acting in college, like officially. I mean, I didn't have really, I think I was in a play in like kindergarten or something, but none of my schools that I went to growing up anyway, had any like theater programs. We almost put on a play in, I think it was 7th grade, and then it didn't happen. Like, you know, and I was supposed to be the lead, and I'll never forget that. And but that's it. None of them had like I never did it in high school. I went to a technical school, which was like a vocational school, and I was an electrician, and that's what I was gonna do. You know, like I had offers for really high, you know, from really big companies. You know, at 18 years old, coming out of high school to be an electrician. Like I was really skilled in that. And the only other thing I did do was play sports. You know, I was a state scholar athlete through high school, and I think if it were to give me any advantage, it would have been just being in front of a crowd, you know, in front of people on a stage in a way, you know, because I mean, as an athlete, you know, playing basketball, soccer, or baseball, I mean, you know, you have people come and watch or whatever. So I kind of had that, you know, where, you know, you have to be able to perform in front of watchful eyes, you know, and perform in obviously in a very different way, but still, you know, I think it sort of gave me that opportunity to I guess just be under pressure in a situation where people are watching down, you know, upon you. But I don't know. I think in terms of what it brings for me, what it did was it really informs I think my work as an actor, because you know, everybody works differently. Some people are more tuned in, you know, on a mental note or emotional, you know. Like I'm somebody, like, and I get a script and I'm reading something, like physically I have to be able to relate to it, you know, and by that I just mean, like, you know, I do little things, like, you know, I wear different shoes, or you know, try to think of what I'm wearing, and a lot of my talk sometimes with like directors or other people I'm working with, you know, I ask a lot of those types of questions, like, you know, what am I going to be wearing, or some of the times the people I want to speak to first are like the costumers and this, just to kind of understand, so I can just kind of get into that, you know, mindset, and that makes me feel, that puts me at a place, I guess, physically, where then I can let loose a little bit more on a, you know, just the mental side of it, you know. So you know, there's like the famous, I don't remember if it's Olivier, I feel like it's Olivier and Dustin Hoffman, but like there's this funny story of like Dustin Hoffman doing push-ups and running around, and you know, they're about to do a scene where he needs to be out of breath, you know, and if it's Olivier, I hope that's I'm making the right connection, but Olivier was just like, why don't you just act? You know what I mean? Like, instead of just working yourself up, just use your imagination, you know? And I don't think that, personally, I don't think there is one way. You know, there are tools that we each have. They're just like, you know, all the acting schools and teachers out there, people that say, oh, there's only one way to do it, I don't personally believe in, because I've never found any script or any project that I can identify that only one thing worked for that. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you know, people that do certain specific things, you know, so, I think it's people that they'll speak about, it's either Meisner or method, where they say, well, they can't play Greeks because if you've never killed your own kid, how can you, you know, how can you do that? You know what I mean? How can you relate to something like that, or some classic material, you know? And I don't know, I just think there are tools for each thing. Like, I think, you know, you can use bits and pieces of everything. And so for me, physically, I mean, I still feel you have to feel, you know, in a way, like, you know, feeling out of breath, and yeah, and thinking like you're out of breath. I've had to do both, where I don't have time to go do jumping jacks or anything like that, but I know how to breathe heavy and make that, you know, feel like it's supposed to, I guess, like it's intended. But I do think sometimes, you know, sometimes you just need to take a lap around the building before you go shoot a scene, you know, and sometimes you just need to clear your head and just do it. So I think, you know, for me, the way I approach my work from a physical standpoint first, it just works for me, you know, and it works for the type of movies that I do and want to continue to do, you know. So I would say that would maybe be the only advantage it brings, you know, or those two things I should say, is just having been in front of crowds from a young age, and then, you know, just feeling like you want to feel a connection to somebody. I don't know, for me, like, one of my pet peeves are watching like sports movies or anything where people have to play sports, I'm like, they can't even toss a ball. Like, you know, that's a physical thing. You know, like if you've never pitched before or you've never thrown a football, like you need to learn how the mechanics of that. You know, it needs to look real, you know, because we can identify, and you don't have to be a sports player to know that, like, this person doesn't look like they know how to throw a baseball, you know what I mean, or shoot a basketball. So I do think there are times where physicality does play a big factor, you know, and some of my favorite actors are the people who are physical, you know, and take on different physicalities when they're doing their work. So that's to me another reason why I feel like I identify more with that sort of approach.